Hello, everybody, and welcome to Ring Post Radio, the only podcast that finally makes its triumphant return to Sunday mornings. I'm your host, Ryan Knightsey, and with me, as always, is the man, the myth, legend, Scotty Edwards. Scotty, how are you doing on this fine Sunday morn?
Fine.
Perfect. We get right into it. TNA against all odds. This
That's how the show's going from now on.
The fastest we ever get to.
Up an hour. 75 topics, 1 hour. No more, no less.
This is a crash course, Ring Post Radio. And then we have I was going to say we have a sound cue, and I guess technically we do. Let's get into it. Ring Post Radio, 1 hour. Yeah, well, we certainly got topics to get to. I'm glad you're doing quote unquote fine. I'm also doing quote unquote fine.
I don't think fine's like a great thing. I think it's just kind of a thing.
For fine for me, okay.
It's fine.
I think when I do match ratings, sometimes I'll attribute star ratings to like those like quality words like fine, good, great, amazing, or whatever.
Sure.
Fine for me, I have like locked at like 2 stars. That's like, this was a fine match. Bad
is under average.
Yeah. Average match is 2.5. I mean, I think that's fair. Fine is under average. And then 1 star is bad, and 0 stars is obviously like the worst.
I think that's fair.
Imaginable. Do you do something similar where you do you contribute like words to specific ratings?
Yeah, I do. I throw a lot of words out there. Big words guy. No, I actually do.
Famously big words guy.
I think that's a good system though. Like to have words that like funny enough, be like if you watch a match, you're like, wow, that was great. Oh, okay, that's where I'm gonna rate it.
Exactly.
Though I will say, like, I'll get to like the words like tremendous or something, and I don't think I usually say those out loud. I don't usually say anything out loud after I watch a match unless I'm with people, but that's besides the point.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here talking by myself after watching a match. Oh my god, that was tremendous.
You're doing little Ring Post Radio reviews by yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I start talking to just my screen or my dog. My dog's like, what?
Excuse. Well, yeah, we got obviously a lot to get to.
Move on.
Great bit. We got a lot of stuff to get to. Obviously, there's a big time WWE shows this weekend. One with a lot of sort of question mark news surrounding it, I guess, in terms of Worlds Collide and what that's going to look like.
Well, there's an answer that Alberto Del Rio is definitely not going to be in this company.
That is, not necessarily not in the company, right? Or is it he's just not champion?
I mean, to me, it's part of the plan of him not being part of it. But I did see Gleet was bringing him over, so it's fine.
Oh, Gleet. Gleet. Oh, God.
Alberto Del Rio versus Katsuhiko Nakajima in the middle of a Gleet ring. What? That's not the match, but it'd be funny if it was.
I wouldn't be
the match of burnt bridges.
Look, yes, that's a burn bridge match. But I also would be shocked if they do that match because it isn't like Nakajima's thing. Does he have the shoot title? You know how like they have like some grapplers?
No.
Oh man. Because you know, obviously like Del Rio has like an MMA background and everything, and so it's just like I fear that would actually happen, and I hate that. I hate to hear that. But we'll talk, I guess, maybe about that more when we talk about Worlds Collide. Obviously, talk about Money in the Bank this weekend. We got some contract news, I guess, in a way, with AEW that we'll talk about. Speaking of AEW, we'll look at their Fyter Fest card, their 4-hour show that they have this Wednesday for Dynamite and Collision.
I'd argue that's too long of a TV show.
Yeah, if you complained about the length of Double or Nothing, get ready to watch 4-hour Dynamite and Collision this Wednesday. We're also going to discuss the best of Super Juniors generally. The finals happened this morning. We know who won, but we weren't able to watch it because of how New Japan does their uploads now. They don't upload like the full show file. They just upload.
Yeah, they don't want me to watch it.
and I was not awake enough early enough to log on and watch it live. But that being said, we'll talk about, I think, generally about what we think about the results of the winner, and maybe generally about
I
the
did catch
tournament
up in
itself.
time.
Me too. I caught up in time perfectly for the finals, and I was all ready for the finals this morning, and then it never got uploaded. And I was like, all right, that's fine. I'm not stressed about it at all. But yeah, we'll discuss that. We'll discuss about the Best of Super Juniors tournament, generally speaking. I did say against all odds. I mean, if we actually have time, I guess we'll discuss against all odds, but probably not. So we'll move on from that. But let's discuss.
No chance.
Let's discuss sort of the big continuation of the Vince McMahon, Janelle. I should say the Janelle Grant lawsuit, because it had a big update this week, and I think for how, not to necessarily speak for you, Scotty, but I think for both how we feel, I think this is a positive update in the case, with what happened, of course, which is that John Laurinaitis flipped yet again on this case in regards to Vince McMahon. If we recall, many moons ago, he had a quote and statement that said that like Vince forced him to do it and all these sort of things, and he did not want to do any of these sort of this stuff, and he did it against his will from Vince, or it was something to that regard. He then backtracked that statement and continued to be part of the co-defendant team with TKO and Vince McMahon. And now this week, as of Wednesday, May 28th, he has flipped once again. This is from CNBC, Scotty. The co-defendant in the bombshell lawsuit against former WWE boss Vince McMahon of sexual abuse and sex trafficking, of course, again, TKO is a part of this, has agreed to cooperate with and give evidence to the woman suing the pro wrestling mogul and the company. The co-defendant, John Laurinaitis, also reached a confidential settlement with McMahon's accuser, Janelle Grant, according to a statement issued by their representatives on Wednesday. This is from a quote from various reps. John Laurinaitis has agreed to cooperate and provide evidence in Janelle Grant's lawsuit against Vince McMahon and WWE. His agreement to a confidential settlement is a pivotal next step towards holding McMahon and WWE accountable and bringing justice to Miss Grant after years of sexual abuse and trafficking. Mr. Laurinaitis looks forward to moving off his life. We cannot provide additional details at this time. So yeah, he has flipped again. He is providing evidence for the Janelle Grant accuser side of the lawsuit, and he is no longer a co-defendant of the case. She has settled his aspect of the case for a confidential, undisclosed amount. So there is some goodness. There's some resolve, I guess you could say, a third of a resolve for the Janelle Grant lawsuit. But in a big moment, John Laurinaitis has now basically joined the team of Janelle Grant, which honestly, Scotty, I think that is really big news. And I think that's, whereas reading that lawsuit, you would almost want something to happen as well to John Laurinaitis. But in the same breath, if this...
Not almost.
Thank you. In the same breath, if this is one of those situations where it can hopefully lead to something worse for Vince McMahon, I know I'm gonna accept that. I'm not gonna be fully happy with it because obviously I want something to John as well. But the fact that he settled is, I guess something. But overall, what do you think about this new shocking bombshell that CNBC has written up?
It's certainly big. I mean, him flopping for the second time.
Yeah.
Is this the second time now?
Mm-hmm.
He started off one way, then he joined Vince. Now he's here. It's a big deal. It's a very big deal. It's the biggest, I think, story from this case in, a couple months, obviously. And I just remain the same of I hope there is justice served when it comes to Vince McMahon. Like you said, I think part of us would obviously like to see, not part, most, all, would like to see John Laurinaitis have dealt with something as well, but taking out Vince more so is way more important. So, yeah, it's just a big deal, and it's good to see something like this in many ways, obviously, for Janelle Grant's case, literally in the actual case itself. So yeah, it's something I think you read and you're like, huh, and then you're like, well, I'm not shocked. That's what John Laurinaitis does. So now we'll see. We'll
Yeah,
see. You know,
yeah, I
this is a
think
big.
it's big movement, and it is something that I would almost hope moves this a little bit more along. You
Yeah.
know, that
The
is a
fact is
big.
there's evidence that's coming with John Laurinaitis.
Yes, who again, previous co-defendant. So, you know, what it ultimately means, right, is that if he is, you know, going back, flip flopping again, he wants to move on or whatever. He and providing evidence that only provides more truth to the
Mhm,
alleged claims that Janelle Grant has.
mhm,
Um, you know, I imagine then that could spell even more disaster for Vince McMahon. Obviously, I think there are other concerns regarding that. Obviously, I think like we both agree that we would love to see Vince McMahon behind bars at the end of this case, because that would be, I think, a great thing for everyone to see. Um, you know, I'll just bring up again, like I always do, a good friend of his is currently in the White House pardoning a bunch of people left and right. So I think that's
mhm,
a big fear. That being said, I did just remember this isn't a federal case, right? This is a state case, if I recall. So that can't do anything. So we don't have to concern about that. So that is, I think this is going to move faster along. I think we're probably going to see even more pushback from the Vince McMahon side of disparaging comments and pushing for a settlement or whatever. The other, what was it? Throwing out the entire case is kind of what they're trying to do because of
mhm.
contracts or whatever that were allegedly signed. Um, you know, whatever ends up happening is, you know, a settlement isn't great, but I think this moves forward and moves closer to maybe not necessarily sentiment, but I mean, maybe even going as bad as going to a trial, or at the very least, Scotty, a settlement that is even higher in monetary value. So
Mhm.
I think that is a fair cause for uh, something. I don't know. I don't know how I feel. I don't necessarily know how I feel about settlements. I guess they're totally legal. Obviously, it's just, you know, you want to see the bad guys go behind bars, but you know that is the justice system at the end of the day.
I think it was Dave long ago that said that's always something, especially with Vince, that you expect.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
but
that's everything he does is settlements.
that's he said he's done so many settlements, so that's why I think you bringing it up is obviously worth bringing up. But like you said, we hope that he's behind bars at the very least at
Mhm.
the end of this. That's like the first level of things I hope happens to this terrible human, but that's besides the point.
Yeah. Yeah, and maybe we'll never see 14th and I get off the ground.
Be great if I didn't.
I guess that is the other bit of news that happened this week is
Hope it has the same success as the XFL both times.
yeah. Was his new production company? I don't know, entertainment company, whatever the title of it was, 14th and I.
Yeah,
Uh
you see that story this week where people were trying to say he was going to try to buy WWE back. I was like, what?
yeah, it's just a bunch of idiots. He
That one's like absurd. Like they are
on many
so
levels.
expensive. Like what?
He doesn't have the money to buy back WWE at this point, right?
No,
Not
not
even
even
close.
remotely.
And not even that, but he also is like still is, if I recall, has a lot of like stock and
He
stuff
sold a
in.
lot of it.
He sold a lot of it, but if I recall, he still has like a lot
I'm
of
sure he has some.
something
Actually,
still in WWE. So even if he like sold that, I don't remember if he's still part of these boards or whatnot, because you
he's
know,
not.
obviously, I know he came off, like, remember like when he left WWE, it's like he was still like in charge of WWE. He was just like no longer around, I guess. Um, so I don't quite remember. I can see
He
you
has
looking it up.
9%.
9%. I mean, yeah, even
Oh,
if you
sorry, but his portion of TKO shares are under 5, so he has no voting rights.
yeah. Um, I mean, even if he sells all of that, he's not even going to get close to buying back WWE. This just the dumb story of like this whole. I mean, look, at the end of the day, Scotty, what is this new thing for Vince McMahon? This new thing is just going to be a dumb thing that he is going to do and promote whatever other interest that he has that isn't um, pro wrestling. Honestly, Scotty, if I were to believe anything, okay, look, you could say that he's going to try to buy back WWE. I think that's dumb. If I were to say that he was going to run and promote any new thing in the wrestling sphere, I would believe more that 14th and I would control the new Hulk Hogan, Eric Bischoff amateur wrestling promotion that they're trying to run, and then try to use that to scam and sell their way off into TKO. That's what I think would probably happen.
Those three,
yeah, those idiots. So
three of them. Like if we take the I guess major entity of what makes Vince McMahon the worst human being that of the past couple of years, and just look at Vince McMahon in a wrestling sense, maybe my 3 least favorite people in wrestling.
Yeah,
like, I can't stand any of them.
Yeah, the Mount Rushmore of just get.
I'll give Eric Bischoff this one. He's by far the best human of the 3.
Yeah, I guess that's. Well, I mean, yeah, comparatively,
like comparatively, I mean,
one is
for real.
One is a accused sex trafficker. One is a very much
proven,
very much a racist, which I guess also applies to Vincent as well.
Oh yeah, Vince checks all the awful points, and then there's Eric Bischoff.
As far as we know, Eric Bischoff, his worst thing is he's a massive grifter. I think is the
which like, hey,
not great.
That's part of the gig, I guess.
Colin Matthew in the chat, doesn't he still have a court case hanging over him, or am I wrong? I don't know if you're talking about John Laurinaitis or Vince. Vince, obviously, we should note, still very much a part of the Ring Boy lawsuit that is still being played out. So there's also that.
I think this was it for Laurinaitis now.
I think Laurinaitis is done. I don't think he's a part of the Ring Boy thing.
Could be,
I guess. I don't think there is anyone else that he is majorly a part of. But I guess that is what it is. But let's move on though. Let's talk about let's continue to talk about WWE, because like I should always say, we always have these big weekends of wrestling shows, and I do want to make the awkward transition and talk about WWE shows since that's kind of what we do here on Ring Post Radio. But at the same time, I think it's important, obviously.
Shows.
What's that?
I said big weekends of WWE shows specifically.
Oh yeah. But I always want to make it important every time we do these segments of it is important and remind ourselves that these lawsuits are really horrendous and bad, and they are currently actively happening. And like I said in the first segment, I think a good movement on the lawsuit with the Janelle Grant side. So I want to make it clear that like I still don't like these companies, but we're still going to talk about them because we talk about all wrestling, at least try to talk about all wrestling on this program. So
against my will.
And this one at the very least is an interesting one, because this of course is Worlds Collide. This is going to be the WWE, not NXT. I'm looking at the poster and everything. No longer NXT.
Got booted.
It's just pretty much WWE all around. And AAA.
Based on this week, by the way, I think officially now one wrestler is in NXT from this list,
and I believe it is just Ethan Page.
Oh, sorry, too. Lola Vice as well.
Did Javon Evans move up?
I forgot. Yeah, he was on SmackDown. I don't know if he's up, but he was on SmackDown. Probably, maybe part of it. Lola Vice was the one I talk about. Forgot Ethan Page was a person. Good thing.
That's fair.
He's a champion.
Colin Matthew, Vince, apologies. Okay, yeah, Vince. Yeah, Vince obviously still has the Ring Boys lawsuit.
Oh, he has plenty over him.
He has several albatrosses hanging off his neck. Anyways, Worlds Collide this Saturday, June 7th, in the Kia Forum in Inglewood, California. This is the same day, of course, as Money in the Bank, whereas this show is happening at 3 p.m. Eastern. The show will go on for however long it's going to go on. And then following that at, I believe, 7 is when Money in the Bank is on.
I don't understand I don't understand what they're trying to do with this. Like the double shows in the same location, but not the like not the same building and
Yes.
just so close together.
Yes, we should clarify. Worlds Collide Kia Forum at 3 p.m. in Inglewood, California. Then at 7, across the street from the Kia Forum, they go to the Intuit Dome for Money in the Bank. I agree with you. Why not just do them in the same building? I have to presume, obviously, the big thing is that one is bigger than the other.
Yes.
But it is very interesting of like, why don't you just do them both at the same building and say, because what you're talking about, Scotty, almost is like you could save on costs if you just do it in the same building.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's new for them. I'll give them that. It's definitely new for them because I guess it's the same in some ways as like WrestleMania and Takeover in a way, right? When they've done that. But here's the difference. That's a stadium. And it's also like way more hours apart. This is literally like if you wanted to go to both, you kind of can't.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
you
yeah.
have to run to get from one to the other because by the time Worlds Collide ends, it's probably going to be like 6 o'clock for us, which is an hour before that show. I mean, I guess you can, but also, who the hell is paying 2 things of WWE tickets? But that's another conversation for another day.
Yeah, that's the WWE diehards. I believe there was a ticket package as well for these shows that you can
That
get both.
doesn't help my question at all.
Worlds Collide, very much an interesting show.
They've sold a lot of tickets.
Oh, are you looking at the WrestleTix right now?
Yeah, it was set up as of May 28th.
This
It was
is
set
Worlds
up for
Collide, I assume, right?
9,992. They've sold as of a few days ago 8,579.
God damn. A lot of I have to imagine that's all AAA fans that are buying those tickets, right?
I'm sure there's some like Lucha Libre fans.
So we should
it's in California.
We should discuss that, right? Is this show and this is
And
obviously
it's the first. You gotta remember that. It's the first.
Yes.
Like it's the first of this. So like that gives it a little bit of spunk, a little bit of excitement compared to like what it might be in say a year.
Yeah. Oh, that's very much true. This is obviously the start of showcasing, like really this is the first start of showcasing AAA talent and what AAA is to a certain degree. Really just the talent to the WWE audience outside of bringing in.
I don't think they want to showcase what AAA is.
Yeah, I agree. This obviously
I guess.
Obviously, this is the beginning of their partnership that's going to turn into an acquisition later in the year. This is them showcasing AAA really to the American audience in terms of talent. I don't necessarily expect this show to really feel like a AAA show in any regard. I fully expect this to feel like this is going to be WWE produced, fully on WWE. I mean, granted, this is streaming on YouTube, which is also very interesting to me.
It's pretty cool.
But ultimately, like
Free.
In terms of like, I guess like kind of like a historical context, or what do you think this means moving forward, or how well do you think this might succeed for that conversion of fans? What are you thinking with Worlds Collide here?
Oh, man, it's a great question because I don't know. I don't know. Like this show jumped up on me. Like I didn't realize it was this close until like the other day, and I was like, "Holy shit, that is literally next weekend." I mean, it's WWE, so like it's really weird now. Where like WWE is obviously still hot in terms of tickets, as I am about to tell you. They're at 14K as of 2 days ago for Money in the Bank as well, which is 2,000 less than sold out, so they will be selling out. Between that and the other one, they might have 10K at 2 buildings within 4 hours of each other. So there's that. But at the same time, the WWE product is bad. It is not interesting in terms of the main part, right now. So I think it's interesting to see if AAA and a combination of the two can make any fans of that through the WWE window. Now, don't get me wrong, I think if there's going to be a show that non-WWE fans check out in terms of curiosity, it will be this one.
Yeah.
So that helps as well. It'll be interesting. It can be a home run of I will say this. As someone who does not like AAA for the past couple of years, I do think this can be a successful show in terms of a good wrestling show. There's some good matches on here.
Mhm.
They're gonna go all out because it is a show where you're trying to establish what this looks like moving forward. And I mean, the best luchadors on the show are probably the WWE ones. So that's
That's
a
Mr. Iguana
lift.
slander, but I will continue.
That is a lift, except for like Wagner Jr.
Yeah.
Out of all these people that are coming from the AAA side, Wagner Jr. is like the one that I know he's still top of the game type stuff. I know I
Yeah.
haven't seen him in a few months, but as far as I'm concerned, he's still great. So it's an interesting show. I'm fascinated to see, like, do WWE fans care to check it out? Do they check it out? I'll never figure it out because I don't follow a lot of them,
Yeah.
but we'll learn in due time. I mean, the fact that they're selling as many tickets as they are tells me there's at least interest and curiosity at the start.
Plus, they're doing it on YouTube is very interesting.
I think it's smart.
I think it gets everyone in the world a true number of interest in this thing, but it also exposes it for free, everyone with
Mhm.
internet access to watch this whole thing and
Yeah.
to expose it to the world and not just
Instead
behind
of
the
putting
paywall.
it behind a paywall. Yeah.
Yeah.
You wanna give people a taste before you do that.
Yeah. So I think it's a smart play. I fully agree with you, Scotty. I think that the people involved talent wise in the show, this can be a success. I think it
Yeah.
probably will be a success because WWE is going to make sure this for WWE, this has to be a success. If for
Well,
their global AAA expansion, all these sort
yeah.
of things, for that to start off well, this has to be a success. So they're going to do
Yeah.
everything in the power to just kind of get out of
That's
the
why
way and
Del Rio just lost the belt.
yeah, exactly. They're making sure that
Yeah.
everything they can do to make sure that this thing is a success.
That's why
Um,
they put and to follow that, that's why they put a lot of strong wrestlers against the AAA talent. Like this isn't like they're not putting like Nikita Lyons out there. They're putting, you know, veterans like LWO. You can feel however you want about them. Those are great veterans that they have on their roster. They
yeah,
have Chad Gable in the main event because Chad Gable's a great wrestler.
mhm.
And the list
You know,
goes on and on and
Ethan
on.
Page, we can, yeah. He's a good hand.
Ethan Page is there to be a base. Look
Yes,
at that match. He is there for nothing but to be a base.
that's true. That's correct. Yeah, no, I agree with you. They has to do well. It has to succeed. I
It
think
does
what's
it
gonna be
does and it doesn't. Like, it's still WWE, so, like, if this fails, it's like, "Alright."
yes. That's also a
But
good question. Is like,
yeah.
what does failure mean? What does that even look like? Like, does it like they're not going to get 2,000 views on YouTube, but like,
Right.
what would a failure in this case even look like? I assume a bad show, but is it going to get the audience? Is it a bad show for us, but not the WWE fans? Like,
Mm.
what would that even look like? I think
Do you
that's all fascinating.
know so I'm looking at the Kia forum just because 'cause I'm interested in, like, who's run this so that only AEW ran it last year. They
Yes,
ran 1 Dynamite there. They also ran Full Gear there in 2023, where they had 12,904 people there,
last year or full gear.
2023.
Okay. What was the
So,
2024 last year's, I assume, Dynamite?
5,500.
Not great. Last year was not a
No,
great
but it was TV, so it's a little different.
TV. Last year was also a down year anyways for
We're
predicted sales.
comparing Full Gear and
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think Worlds Collide can beat that 12,000? Probably not.
probably not. It's 2 shows in 1 spot. The fact that they're gonna probably get close to the 10K, maybe hit over it, is a victory in itself, probably. So
I agree. Yeah, I'm truly fascinated to what this show is going to look like. It has to be good, obviously. What it does to the Triple Mania Regia show that's coming up in June, middle of June, June 15th, June 16th, something like that. I'm fascinated to see what are we going to get a bunch of WWE fans checking out that show? Do they know how to check out that show?
I am one. I am wondering if they try to set anything up for that show.
That's a good point. That's a good point. We
Like, do
already
they
know
try to
that.
sell that show through this show where there's gonna have way more eyes on it?
That's obviously June 15th. At this point in time, we also already have WWE wrestlers on that show, the Los Garzas, for the tag team match for the AAA World Tag Team titles. So it's already starting, but obviously
Right.
already that card with 3 matches is more AAA than it is WWE, which obviously makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I mean, I'm truly fascinated to see how this works, if it does at all work. Um,
They
you know,
debuted a new Taurus.
yes, they did that I think last year.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's fine, as you would suspect, probably.
I
Um,
figured he wasn't the original, no.
let's talk about the
Or
actual proper
the
show.
main one.
The card here is as follows. I'll probably just go full card. I don't think we really need to go match by match.
No, I don't have thouts on Check's notes.
The
Yeah.
NXT North American title, Ethan Page. Once Ricky Starks, that would have been more exciting here, but Ethan Page versus Javon Evans versus Laredo Kid versus Ray Phoenix. I do actually genuinely think this could be good.
He's
They
a
have all
base.
Ethan Page, I believe, has worked with all 3 of these guys before in some capacity. Obviously, NXT, TNA, and AEW. So honestly, look, it actually might work out well. 6-man tag team match: Legado del Fantasma, Santos Escobar, Angel, and Berto versus El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr., Pagano, and Psycho Clown. This, to me, 100% is meant to put over the AAA guys.
Mhm.
You also have Stephanie Vaquer and Lola Vice versus Chick Tormenta and Dallas. Then you also have Latino World Order, Dragon Lee, Cruz del Toro, Joaquin Wild versus Octagon Jr., Aerostar, and Mr. Iguana. Then you have the main event, the AAA Mega Championship, El Hijo de Vikingo versus Chad Gable. What are your sort of big thoughts, I guess we'll say, about this card?
It's an interesting card. I will give them that. It is an interesting card on paper. There are matches I read that I say, I'm interested in seeing that, which is, new for AAA for me for in a very long time. I think it's gonna get across probably what they want. I think they put a lot of good pairings together and gave you different kinds of matchups to get that across. I mean, Stephanie Vaquer is probably just like she just got called up
Yeah.
literally like a day ago. So this is probably her, go in, win, and move on type thing. But she's one of their big stars, so you get her on there. I think like the 2 trios matches are gonna serve as like these crazy spot fest type things, which you're gonna kind of want from both of them.
Mm-hmm.
And then the 2 title matches, I think legitimately can be very good. I won't say great. I don't know what Vikingo looks like these days.
He's back kind of where he was before knee injury.
That's good. that's that's very good then. And Chad Gable's Chad Gable. So I'm sure this starts our way on until El Grande Americano becoming AAA Mega Champion. I'm not kidding either. Like I'm
I don't think you are
100%
either.
sure that is the direction. So take that for what you will.
I almost think like Vikingo wins here, and then they add at Triple Mania Vikingo versus El Grande.
Oh God. What's the ultimate payoff in the end, right? Maybe not day one, because I do think he could win. But eventually when he loses is when Rey Mysterio returns to AAA and like helps cost him the belt.
Yeah.
That's the payoff. Come
That
on
makes
now,
sense.
that feels like the payoff. But yeah, I am interested in the show. It's also on YouTube, so it doesn't mean there's no ads. God bless. They're just gonna go right through this show.
Well, there's no
That,
YouTube ads.
no, but there's specifically no Peacock ads, which
Yeah.
makes shows go 7 hours. They can do this probably in 2 to 2.5 hours easy, no breaks, and that's nice. Which is my ultimate hope. So yeah, it's the best WWE show of the day.
I tend to agree. My quick thoughts on this is that you look at those two tags and you see one AAA team winning and the other side Latino World Order winning. That's very obvious.
How
to
many
me.
times did AAA win on the show? Once? Or sorry, twice?
I think Vikingos winning, El Hijo,
Yes.
Dr. Wagner Jr., Pagano, and Cyclocon, that team is winning.
Yes, that's it.
There's like an off chance that the women's tag team wins and like they pin Lola Vice, But
Sure.
I don't, and maybe that they spin off.
Stephanie is the biggest star on the show from WWE, though.
Yes, so I also agree that they wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean. Like,
she feels out of place here.
If I had
looking
to,
at the card,
yes, if I had to give a third, it would be that. You know what I mean?
for sure. Yeah. No,
Other than that, I mean, it's like I think like Javon Evans might win. I don't know. I don't think Ray Phoenix is winning. That feels weird.
Either way, there's one AAA wrestler that has a chance of winning that match, and Laredo Kid ain't winning.
There's something. Look, okay, hold on.
By the way, my favorite stat of the week. As of this show, this will Laredo Kid will tie how many TNA pay-per-views he was on.
That's hilarious.
He was there for years.
I will say this about Laredo Kid. There is something, the fact that he is in TNA and with Trick Williams winning the TNA title, there's something you can get away with here of having Laredo Kid win an NXT title. That would logically make sense, sort of swap wrestlers, swap titles.
Sure.
So it would make almost sense for Laredo Kid to win the NXT title. That being said, that's not going to happen. A big thing about this card, Scotty, and talking about like how much is AAA actually going to win is it would behoove WWE. Big words, Ryan. Now it would behoove WWE in what they're trying to do is to have AAA look overall more dominant on this show than the WWE guys. However, they're definitely not going to do that.
If Vikingo wins to them, that will be enough.
I agree. I think. I mean,
they're like, Chad Gable's a good wrestler,
mm-hmm.
And I'll be like, yeah. I mean, he loses every week, but yeah.
Uh-huh.
By the way, Laredo Kid has been working TNA since 2017, just to point out how bad what I just said was.
Oh, I agree.
Shout out to him though. Happy for him that he gets on the show. Him, Ray Phoenix, Javon Evans, that should be crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, Ethan Page is there to do one thing: be a base and probably pin someone.
I think the only other grand thoughts I have is I was listening to the Gentleman's Wrestling podcast because they had Lucha Blog on it.
I have a great joke though.
Okay, hit me.
What's going to be better, this 4-way or the AEW one?
Oh, by far, the NXT North American title. What are we talking about?
If Ethan Page was someone else, it still wouldn't be better because it's a WWE match.
Okay, so the 1-to-1 here is Ethan Page is, of course, Kenny Omega. In this situation, Javon Evans, I don't know. Brody King, correct. I don't know.
Is Javon Evans the most exciting of these guys? Because he's still Raw.
Oh, that's
I know what the other two do.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought. I mean, possibly. There's more potential, obviously. I mean, Ray Phoenix, we're locked in, and he's really great. But
yeah, he's awesome. Yeah, I mean, Penta's not on the show, but that's because I think he's on Money in the Bank.
He is.
Yeah. Wow, what a men's Money in the Bank match.
Oh, we'll get to that.
Shit.
The only other thing I wanted to talk about real quickly, Scotty, was just because I was listening to Lucha Blog and the Gentleman's Wrestling podcast, and he talked about the sort of issues of women's wrestling in Mexico and the sort of, difficulties.
Charlotte, Catalina, and Persephone.
The difficulties in training and sort of, the division, all the divisions, both in AAA and CMLL, like they're all kind of weak, comparative to many other places. And then who we have up here is Chick Tormenta in Dallas. And it's just like, I don't know who else you would kind of put because AAA CMLL is not a great division, but it's way better than what AAA has in terms of women. And it comes at this sort of crossroads with WWE, who obviously is in a current moment for them of pushing women's talent and pushing women's wrestlers, that they're not really have a lot of space for that in AAA to even do. So I'm just very interested in that match in that sort of context.
Yeah. It'll be the interesting part. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. It's looking at AAA, it's a fascinating company to begin with. By the way, Laredo Kid is a champion in this company. I just want to point out.
Is he the Latin American champion?
He is the cruiserweight champion.
All right.
So that's something. I wonder if he wears his title or not.
I was just about to say that. You have to think he does. Have to.
I have doubts. But he should, obviously. But yeah, that's it. It's a show that I'm kind of looking forward to.
Yes, same.
It's like it still sucks this happened. Like, I can't stress that enough. Like, it sucks that AAA was bought by WWE. But we're here. This is the reality.
Also sucks that it's very obvious what WWE is trying to do with AAA.
Yeah. So like, this is the reality. So we just live with the reality now. And it looks like an interesting show at the very least. So
exactly, has to be a good show,
and it's free.
It's free. It has to be a good show for WWE. I guess in some regards, I would love for it to not be a good show and for them to just give up. But
I think it'll be a good show. Like, I think it legitimately, like, I want to be shocked if people like this is the best WWE branded show of the year, because obviously not a high bar.
That's an extremely low bar so far this
like
year.
the bar is incredibly low. Couldn't tell you what the best show was. Probably like an episode of Raw, truthfully. Not even a pay-per-view.
Well,
pay-per-views have been stinky poo-poo.
Speaking of stinky poo-poo pay-per-views, let's see if that bar gets cleared at all with Money in the Bank. Of course, again, this Saturday, June 7th at 7 p.m. In Intuit Dome. You said
this women's match would be sick if it was not a Money in the Bank.
Yeah. I think you said this has so far 12,000 plus sold for
tickets. 14. Good
14.
Try though. 14 out of 16.
My apologies to one John Cena. So yeah,
same place where the Netflix debut happened, by the way.
Oh yeah. What did they have on the Netflix debut?
A lot. Way too many. I'd argue. Give me 1 second. I will find it. You can continue.
This is, of course, Money in the Bank, Los Angeles. We have 4 matches for the show. We might get a
There'll
fifth.
Be one more.
I don't know what it would be yet. It's always 5.
17,000, by the way.
Oh boy, they're gonna get 3,000 more in a matter of days.
Yes, the answer is absolutely, positively, guaranteed.
I mean, they have
at least. Well, they're not set up for that, so they either have to lie,
which they will.
We know they like to, or they just get just a little less, which is still good, obviously, I guess, because the Netflix show is bigger than Money in the Bank. Netflix debut for
WWE. Does the Netflix show it okay for the Netflix debut be bigger than a pay-per-view of Money in the Bank? One that one that we just sold to another city after sold to New Orleans.
That's 10 times funnier though. If we look at it that way, it's funny.
That's a good point.
And we like funny.
I think ideally it's the same number of attendance, but yeah. That is interesting. All right. Well, like we said, 4 matches here announced so far. Will there be another one? Probably. I think it's fair to say that it's most likely to be another one.
Have you seen Triple H? He does 5-match cards. No more, no less.
So we'll find out what that is. Let's talk about the Women's Money in the Bank match first, of course. This is
who's the world? Oh, fucking Jey Uso. Never mind.
Yeah. Women's Money in the Bank is Alexa Bliss, Roxanne Perez, Rhea Ripley, Julia, Naomi, and one person left to be announced. I don't have
I got it for you.
perfect.
It's gonna be either Ivy Nile, nope.
No,
Liv Morgan, maybe, or
probably
Stephanie Vaquer.
no, unless the women's main event
Well, this
goes
is her
on last.
debut. But oh, wait a minute, she's on the other show. No, she's not.
Yeah, she's unless
Oh, yeah.
unless it's a
The-
WrestleMania weekend like booking where
They
Stephanie
told
Vaquer goes
you
first.
how this match is going. They said Ivy Niles in this. Stephanie Vaquer is going to look great, but she's not winning.
Yeah, it makes sense that Liv Morgan wins this, honestly.
And it's Liv Morgan. I will say, like I said, on paper, this match would be way more interesting if it wasn't a ladder match.
Yeah. Alexa Bliss, Roxanne Perez, Rhea Ripley, Julia Naomi, and probably Liv Morgan.
Yeah. Did you see the report this week that Triple H hates the Money in the Bank thing?
Really?
Yeah, which honestly I don't blame you because it's like, oh, it's a stupid like thing that's in the middle of whatever bad booking plans he has. But it is like this curveball that's kind of in the way every year. It's like, oh, now I have to include this. Like if you have but Jey Uso's your world champion. Cash in on him. You're welcome.
I agree.
Hope that helps.
I wonder if he hates that it's a pay-per-view. I wonder if he likes the match and likes the idea, but hates it as a pay-per-view sort of thing. You know what I mean?
Maybe that's it. I mean, I would also, because I think maybe he would like to use the match as is rather than be like, I don't have to do it every year at the same part.
Which is hilarious because WWE has slowly developed all of their pay-per-views to just be built around gimmick matches, Well,
under him,
Chamber,
they've at
Royal
least
Rumble.
changed to normal names.
Mhm.
Royal Rumble's different. Royal Rumble's a tradition.
Sure.
But I mean, they've gotten rid of do they run Hell in a Cell anymore? Yeah, I guess they do, right? They did last year.
Yeah. Chamber.
Is that it?
I think that's it. I mean, that's 4.
That's better than what it used to be.
Yeah.
They used to have TLC. They fucking had a show called Fatal 4-Way.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Which was way worse than all of those.
Oh yeah.
Oh god.
But it's the same issue. I mean, it is. I think it's what's interesting about that quote coming from Triple H is that he's the booker.
It definitely was not a quote.
Sure,
it was definitely a report.
Good point. What's interesting about the report from Triple H is that what he's basically saying is that he sees it as probably a booking issue. Is that he sees it as sort of an annoying thing that he has to do and then has to create. I agree. It's the same thing that we talk about with Blood and Guts.
You watched Tony Khan do it with Christian's stupid thing for a year, which, by the way, was his fault. I just want to point out that was not you didn't have to do that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's something that it forces you to have to do something. But the other thing is, Scotty, is in the same breath, Triple H allegedly says one thing, but in the same breath, Money in the Bank is seen as a potential valuable pay-per-view to give to as a WrestleMania replacement. So it has to be put on a pedestal at the same time.
Probably the 4th most important show on their calendar.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Which is a good thing. People like ladder matches.
People
buy tickets to that,
Speaking of ladder matches, who do you think is going to win this women's Money in the Bank ladder match? Who do you think? Who are the current champions?
Freaking clue. So the current champions.
Io Sky.
Thank you. You gonna ask me the question? Or you gonna let me answer?
My apologies, sir.
Io Sky is your reigning Raw Women's champion.
Really? I didn't know that.
And Tiffany Stratton, who cashed in to become champion, is your SmackDown Women's champion. Wait, what's the difference between the belts? I don't know what they're called. World title and WWE Women's title.
Correct.
I don't know which is which.
I think Io has the world title.
Yes, Io has the world this time. You are correct. So that is your champions. I'm okay. I don't think Rhea Ripley's winning. It just would be weird. Well, maybe they do. Maybe Triple H uses an out, right? Hear me out here.
Hearing you. I'm on the same page. Our eyes are in sync and locked.
Easy solution to Money in the Bank this year. You have Rhea win, cash in main event of Evolution 2, Rhea Ripley versus Io Sky.
That'd be a good way to do that. That'd be a good way to avoid the booking issue.
And admittedly, probably the best way. because I don't know. I don't think Julia's not winning. I think they've pretty much said Julia's winning the U.S. title. Like they're already teasing that on SmackDown. I saw.
Yep. I don't think
Alexa,
Roxanne's winning.
Roxanne's not winning. They put her in a story with Liv, so they're going to cost each other.
Yep. Bliss, no.
Bliss, no. Naomi, no. So there you go.
Naomi
That'd be a fun one.
I think Naomi is
with her character work.
Yes, for character work, I think she's sort of the secondary potential like dark horse winner of this.
Sure.
Simply because you could have perhaps Bianca win the title off of Tiffany, or even, I mean, if you wanted to, Jade, and then immediately take it away and put Naomi as the winner and cash in. Like,
yeah,
I think that is a potential.
I'd say Naomi is probably the second highest possibility.
Now, I'll bring it back to the booking idea of Triple H hating this. Which women's division is the better division right now?
Raw.
And that is probably because Triple H also thinks that it's being booked well and all these sort of things outside of the talent that's also part of that division.
They just added Stephanie of care.
So why mess up a good thing unless Triple H really has an idea of this Money in the Bank contract? Why not just shuffle it off to SmackDown?
Yeah,
and do that again.
That's the only reason I'm pitching. Maybe he just uses it to do the Rhea EO rematch, because
that's fair.
Technically, there's no reason Rhea should have a rematch.
Yeah, and they're obviously teasing something.
And I think that's very clearly the biggest match they have right now for Evolution. So that's what I would do, and that's what I'm gonna go with because I like that idea. And
I think it's a good idea. I genuinely
it's better because usually usually what they do with the women's Money in the Bank is they cash in immediately. Tiffany Stratton was a different case where they actually had someone hold it for a long time. Yeah. And I feel like the person who wins it loses what is the word I'm looking for here? They lose care from the booking throughout the run because they're like, oh, we just kind of have to have you lose for some reason. So I'd rather they just have Rhea win, honestly. Give her an accolade too, and then you could do her and EO at Evolution too, and that's your big main event, and that's a main event worth seeing to me.
I agree. In Atlanta, will Ryan Knightsey go see it? Probably not. No. He does not have the funds.
Ryan hates women.
No, no. Fuck.
He just goes, fuck.
God, how much are these tickets?
Oh, I'm sure they're not. Are they even on sale yet? I don't think they're on sale yet.
Don't know, actually. For some reason, the first thing I clicked on was Ticketmaster on Facebook. I don't know why.
Nothing I like better than when I type in Evolution and the fucking comedian that takes his shirt off all the time pops up.
Oh, Bert Kreischer or something like that?
Yeah, that made sense. I don't want a 2-day plan.
Yeah, all I can see is they're selling 2-day tickets for the show so far.
Yeah, lost cause. Goodbye.
How much?
Moving on.
I'll look up that. Let's move on to a last chance match as it's being promoted and billed for the WWE Women's Intercontinental title. This is Lyra Valkyria, of course, versus Becky Lynch. The stipulation is as follows. If Lynch loses, she can no longer challenge for the title for as long as Lyra Valkyria is champion. If Valkyria loses, she'll be forced to raise Lynch's hand and acknowledge Lynch as the better woman. Scotty, what are your thoughts on this?
Tribal chief.
Well, kind of, I guess, to a certain degree.
I'm excited for this match. I know that they can have a good match. I learned that the last time they wrestled. So there you go. Becky wins, by the way.
Yeah. Do you think Becky wins and then Lyra has to raise her hand and all that stuff? You think that's
because Becky versus Bayley sure seems like the direction for Evolution too.
Oh, yeah. I think you might be right.
Sorry to the bird.
I do think a more interesting match, a more interesting booking move is to have Lyra Valkyria lose and raise her hand or doing something like that. I mean, even if it's not Bayley at Evolution, I think you're right that at a certain degree this is building up to
that is what
Evolution.
Yeah, whether it be there or not.
The only reason I say maybe not Bayley because you could do a third match with the two of them and do some
Becky had the best match at the first Evolution.
Yeah, and in the same degree, I think you could do a sort of stipulation on that one where you make it a little more violent and personal and all these sort of things.
Certainly possible. Certainly something I'd go for, but this should be a good match.
Mhm.
And Becky, you should win. So there you go.
I agree. I do agree. Let's move on to the Money in the Bank, the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. The
I
participants
can't
so
believe
far.
you saved this other match for last.
We got it. It's the main event. Probably. I have no idea.
It is the main event. They called it the main event already.
Great.
Both
So
world champions.
what we have here, the men's Money in the Bank ladder match, the participants so far announced are Solo Sikoa, LA Knight, Penta, Seth Rollins, and Andrade, with one TBD that gets decided.
Shout out to the
Monday.
big man. It's
Andrade
either going to be CM Punk, AJ Styles, or El Grande Americano. It's not going to be El Grande. Well, actually, it could be.
Well, no, he's on Worlds Collide.
No, but it could be because they might want to do this gimmick of having him on both shows.
Because they're two different people.
Yes. And this will probably be later in the night. So he'll definitely get there in time.
You're right. Oh, that's dumb.
But I don't think it will be. Oh, they could pay it. They could pin AJ. He's not.
Okay. I don't think. I guess Punk could be in this, but I don't think
Punk's not going to be in this. Come on.
Well, he could be in it just because like the Seth Rollins is in it and all that stuff. But like,
I don't think his body should probably be in it.
I agree. AJ Styles, he could be in it, but really random. Right?
Yeah, it's either going to be El Grande Americano or CM Punk.
I think you're right. It could be Grande Americano. And that sucks, dude.
Kind of crazy. He'd be the one walking out of a match though with AJ Styles and CM Punk. If he wasn't under the gimmick, it was just Chad Cable. People would be celebrating in the streets.
Yeah. You know what's funny? You know what's funny also about all that? They're gonna do that just to prove that like they're two separate. Do the gimmick that they're two separate people. But the other aspect of that is that are they going to talk about like, oh, Chad Gable was just here? Why are you talking about Chad Gable? They're going to do that. What am I saying? They're going to do the thing of that Chad Gable in the mask. He was just at Worlds Collide. You can watch it on YouTube. That's not Chad Gable. That's a completely different guy or whatever.
Yeah, he's going to win. That's my pick.
That sucks. Then we got Solo Sikoa, LA Knight, Penta, Seth Rollins, Andrade, and El Grande Americano or other people.
I got to say, when I think of a ladder match, I really go, give me some Solo Sikoa in that. Give me some LA Knight in that. They got Andrade and Penta, though. So
I think it's fair to say that the winner of this will not be challenging John Cena or probably Cody Rhodes.
No, it should be Seth Rollins, by the way, winning.
Seth Rollins against Jey Uso?
Yeah, please. For the love of God. I know people don't like Seth Rollins these days. Like some people just can't stand him. He's so much better than Jey Uso. And like and it fits the big faction they're doing if he has that, right? It's power or whatever.
Yep.
So they should
they're gonna start needing titles very soon.
Yeah, because the build is Punk versus Rollins for the world title. Finally, that's the real build. Jey Uso just happens to have the belt, unfortunately.
And you could do a gimmick where maybe on the next day on Raw or whatever, where Seth Rollins could come out. Then you have Bronson Reed. You got Braun Breaker. They both beat down Jey Uso, and then Seth
Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker. Damn,
Mm-hmm.
Those names are very close. I thought you were about to call Braun Breaker by his real name, and I was like, well, that's weird.
Yeah, you got Braun, you got Bronson Breaker and Braun Reed.
Bronson Breaker. Sounds
and
funny.
They beat down Jey Uso. Seth Rollins comes in, does a stomp, 1, 2, 3, wins the title.
That's the dream. Solo Sikoa is my number 2 pick.
Why is that?
It'd be fucking funny.
Solo Sikoa is I think a really good outside pick.
Solo Sikoa is also a funny wrestler.
Yes. So. I think he's a really good outside pick and would work with the briefcase. I think his gimmick would work with the briefcase. But it's like, what, Cody?
It would work even better if Jacob Fatu was the champion, not just whatever,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Cody, like, come on.
I mean, they did do a SummerSlam main event. So there's history there, so that it does.
Yeah, and
There's
they
an
also
outside
gave up
chance.
on Solo Sikoa in real time.
Oh, I know. It's still happening.
Yeah, yeah,
Everyone else in here
yeah.
is just like LA Knight, no. Penta, no. Andrade, no. I mean, if we want to talk about Styles or Punk, I mean, maybe like I could see either of them potentially win if
The
they
dream would
did
be
go on.
Punk winning and being a heel, like cashing in on Jey Uso, which is not happening.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
And then
You,
Styles,
I'll I'll tell you this: the people that keep tweeting about what Will Ospreay does at All In, you're gonna want AJ Styles to lose
that's true.
or All Out, whichever one.
So we're both going Seth Rollins, and we're both going Rhea Ripley, pretty much.
Yeah, we're going with the people that should win because they're the important people.
They're actively in like world title programs, and they're the big stars
Yeah,
that are part of this
and
match.
I'm also basing this off of like Triple H not liking the idea, so why not use it to bulk the stories rather than ruin them?
Mm-hmm. I think that's fair.
Does
I
that
think
make
that's fair.
sense?
I think it's completely fair. Just weave them into the story you're already telling,
Mm-hmm.
which would
It's
make
easier for the women. Though I think
Agreed.
it's easy for fucking Seth too.
Oh, I agree. Like we said, you can literally have Seth Rollins do it the next night on Raw, or 2 nights later on Raw, and win
You
the
could
world.
have it do it in the freaking main event, as far as I'm concerned.
Certainly give the main event
He's
some
gonna be
juice.
out there.
The main event, of course, Cody Rhodes, Jey Uso, former tag team champions, going up against John Cena and Logan Paul.
I miss the bloodline. Oh God. I know Jey Uso's in this match, but like Jey Uso out of the bloodline is not good.
This match is
WWE
boring.
outside of the WWE out of the bloodline is not good.
I talked about this last week on the podcast when we brought up Money in the Bank.
Does Logan
That
Paul suck? And the answer was yes.
well, but also like I talked about how like on paper, this match makes sense, right? Like the idea
Where's
of John.
Travis Scott?
That's a great point. I think he was meant to be here, and then that didn't happen.
Maybe he'll make his walkout.
I hope. I can only pray.
Fiend.
I imagine that was the intention, was to have Travis Scott in this match, and it makes more sense of Travis Scott, obviously. But John Cena, Logan Paul, Travis Scott would make more logical booking sense, but Logan Paul is not a bad option. Obviously, I talked about how John Cena, Logan Paul, Jey Uso were the last 3 part of the Royal Rumble. Jey Uso obviously won. Cody Rhodes was the other champion at the time. Jey Uso and Cody Rhodes, former tag team champions as well. So they have history together. There's aspects of this match where on paper it all makes sense. Travis Scott 100% would make more sense, but Logan Paul I think is a solid number 2 in that sort of logical booking scenario. But the problem is that when paper turns into practice, and you look at this and have to see it in real time, this can't be that good. I guess in reality, it could be better than the last previous Cena matches, Scotty, just because it's a tag match. Like we get to hide Cena a little bit, which I cannot believe I'm saying, but we get to finally hide Cena from his wrestling ability in 2025. So there's some regard of like, this can be better. I think this has a chance to exceed expectations, but not by much, especially when the expectations are already super low. To bring it back to the beginning of the show conversation, I expect this to be fine.
There is one total wrestler in this match I consider in their current form good.
Jey Uso.
Fuck you. We're not.
Fuck yourself.
Jey Uso. Get out of here, man. What do you think you are?
Triple H.
Oh God.
Triple H for sure.
I don't think Triple H even believes that.
No.
Like
I'm literally
this comes from
Seth
Triple
Rollins.
H.
I'm literally
Who wasn't a
pitching
good
Seth
wrestler.
Rollins to beat him the next day.
This match is gonna stink.
Yeah. You're not excited for it?
Couldn't be less excited.
Where do you think this all goes? This just feels
Cody
like a tag match to
Rhodes
do.
versus John Cena at SummerSlam.
Well, I will say I agree that John Cena versus Cody Rhodes at SummerSlam makes sense. We also have to keep in mind the next pay-per-view is Night of Champions in Saudi
That's
Arabia.
when they do the world title match. They do them against each other.
Oh, you're right. It is Night of Champions.
So it's going to be Jey Uso versus...
It could be Seth Rollins, but I think in my situation, it would make this would actually make more sense based off the tag if it is John Cena versus Jey Uso.
Oh, that's so bad. And this is coming from someone who really likes John Cena. Obviously, you know you've heard me talk about him. Current heel, broken down John Cena versus Jey Uso might be the worst match of the year.
Not great.
Oh, really? What makes you say that?
I don't know, just sneaking suspicion.
Oh my God, Jim.
When
When is that show?
is that show?
Never mind. It's the end of the month.
Yes.
They have a month plus to build to SummerSlam.
Do we know for a fact that the champions are facing each other? It's not what they did last
They
year.
haven't. Well, where did they do it last year?
Oh no, sorry, this is 2023's Night of Champions in Saudi
Idiot.
Arabia. It's 2023's Night of Champions in Saudi Arabia where they did not do that.
Yeah, well, I'm not talking about that year. I'm talking about last year.
They didn't do a Night of Champions last year. That's the
Well,
problem.
they did something in Saudi Arabia.
They did Crown Jewel last year, which was the champions facing off against each other.
Yeah, so I think they're just gonna do that again.
But they're also doing Crown Jewel in 2025
In like Australia.
Yeah, so there's a chance they do it there, but I don't know. I think
Because it's a Saudi belt. It's held captive in the Saudi WWE experience thing.
That's a good point.
They literally have it on display there as if it means something.
So I guess the question would be, it could be Jey Uso, it could be the Night of Champions gimmick belt thing.
I think they're doing just that because it gives John Cena another month to not defend the title, and you get to SummerSlam with him and Cody.
This is literally the only Saudi show this year. So if they want to do that Night of Champions gimmick, or not the Night of Champions,
that might be the best thing you've ever said.
If they do the Crown Jewel gimmick where they have the champions face each other, and they want to do it in Saudi, this is the only year they can do this. This is the only time they can do that show, which would be Jey Uso versus John Cena. It would make sense based off the tag, which then brings us to SummerSlam.
Damn, they got a lot of shows in other parts of the world later this year. That's probably the other part why this company is really bad. Remember last year they went to like all these different parts of the world and kept things hot.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're just in America.
What are you talking about? They're going to Saudi Arabia later in June, later this month.
That's not where I meant.
Scotty, they're going to go celebrate Pride Month in Saudi Arabia. Happy Pride Month, folks.
By the way.
Genuinely, happy Pride Month.
Yeah, for sure. Dear God. All right, get me out of here.
Yeah, this show, I don't think will be as good as Worlds Collide, but I'm sure it'll be nice to see us set up for a Saudi Arabia pay-per-view.
I always thought the Worlds Collide brand was going to be bigger than it was.
Me too.
Like the idea of it.
I mean, essentially, at the end of the day, this Worlds Collide show is just the Forbidden Door, but for WWE.
No. I mean, yes, but no.
Let's talk about, just real quickly, I want to bring this up, Dynamite, since we're kind of talking about it.
Of course you do, you AEW pilled freak.
Whoa. Whoa. Scatty, coming out hot today. Dynamite, they have Fighter Fest this Wednesday because of the move of Money in the Bank or Worlds Collide. They're moving Collision to be right after Dynamite. So it's going to be a 4-hour AEW experience. So for all those complaining about the long
extravaganza, I prefer extravaganza.
My apologies. It'll be a 4-hour extravaganza. We don't have any of the Collision things, but according to Cage Match,
Ryan, some of these matches, like, there's not a Collision part of this. It's just Fighter Fest.
I agree.
Is it called Dynamite on Wednesday, or is it just all called Fighter Fest?
I'm looking at a Fighter Fest poster, promotional poster on Wikipedia, where it lists Dynamite and Collision. as 2 separate
Okay,
shows.
so what I want to see is the match cards. It just says Fighter Fest. All right, I've answered my question.
So what we have so far, actually no, we have 6 matches announced, or not necessarily announced, but
Oh,
put together so
got
far
my
for the
hopes up.
show. Well, the 6th one is I'll quickly rip off the Band-Aid for you, Scotty, because I know your hopes are not going to be up for this one. Apparently on the show we're going to have the debut of Tekla versus somebody. We don't know who that is. Obviously, Tekla, I should say, made her debut this past Dynamite. So she'll be making
she's
her
not my
in-ring
problem
debut.
anymore.
Making her in-ring debut on Dynamite this Wednesday.
Not my problem anymore. I think my favorite part of the other day was everyone saying Jamie Hayter's career was over on Twitter. I thought that was hysterical. Not Josie
Really?
people. A lot of people did because a lot of people thought the debut was poorly done.
Okay, I disagree, but all right.
Everyone thought it was poorly done.
Out on Blue Sky. 2 different minds, I guess. 2 different minds.
Yeah, you have pilled on one and not pilled on the other.
I wouldn't necessarily say that. I
thought it was poorly done because the way the camera cut, but that's it.
Yeah, well, that's who gives a shit.
Also, doing the grand reveal of entrance music was not what I would have done for Tekla.
Sure, agreed.
Right, just the attack would have worked.
Sure.
At the end of the day, I don't care. I'm never going to watch her again, so I won.
I also think it doesn't necessarily matter when her debut match is the following week, and I think that's the real debut. I always feel like the wrestler, the opening moment obviously matters, but the match matters more, especially for AEW.
Yeah, I just want to say this to the people that were celebrating this. It's not that good. There you go. Hope that helps.
Other matches on this card, of course, 6-man tag team match: La Faction and Goblin.
Wait a minute.
Go ahead.
Let's not move forward. Let's not move on. Who would you ever debut against?
I gotta pull up the old AEW roster page.
Do you? You can't just remember the roster?
No, of course not. I'm gonna pick Mariah May. No. Abaddon. No.
It's gonna be Queen Aminata.
Well, it's not.
You mock someone that lost their job. How dare you?
That was the joke. That was the joke, Scotty. It's not gonna be.
How dare you? I'm not talking about Mariah May. She didn't lose her job.
It's not going to be Tony Storm, Mina Shirakawa, Sky Blue, or Julia Hart because they're in another tag team match.
That would be correct, I think.
So
wait, they are.
They are in a tag team match separate, so it's not them against Tekla.
Maybe it'll be Riho.
It won't. They won't do that. Who did Jamie? Oh, no, that's a bad idea. I was gonna say, who did Jamie Hayter beat right before she faced Monet for the Owen? And I want to say it was Chris Stat.
Yeah, they're not gonna do that.
Yeah, they should.
It'd be funny if they did, though. Holy shit! Imagine that reaction. That'd be funny for me.
You want somebody that can lose. What's who?
It's gonna be Aminata. It's always Aminata.
Yeah, it's someone that is taken seriously but can lose and is also good.
She's good. Yeah, I mean, there's 5 people fully take it seriously here.
Who's a really good seller? You need a good seller as well. It's not bad. I just think she's a better striker and everything.
There's not a single person I'd pick on this roster that makes sense.
As a good seller?
That's not protected.
Yeah.
That they would put on TV, to be specific.
Yeah.
Riho is technically a good seller, but
I think there's an outside chance it could be. I think honestly it might be Anna Jay. I know that's not great.
God, dude.
But I think Anna Jay is now with Harley Cameron out. You can do Anna Jay as just this one match, and she can lose. She has the Stardom experience. I don't know if she worked Tekla during the 5-star.
She didn't.
So yeah, there's that. But I think that's kind of someone you could do. That's not a great option. I don't like that option either.
I hope that's the one.
I hope it is.
Oh, I so hope that's the one.
Anyways, we also have on the show 6-man tag team match: Roosh, the Beast Mortos, and Jalisco versus Commander, Kevin Knight, and Speedball Mike Bailey. Mike Bailey. Oh
I like that better. Speedball Belly. I can't even say that.
Speed Belly.
Kevin Knight's back.
Knight's back.
He's back from the slums of the Best of the Super Juniors.
We also have a special singles match here, Scotty. Does this rev your engine in any capacity? John Moxley
I know
versus Mark Briscoe.
It would rev my engine about like 5 months ago.
When John
Now it's
Moxley was worse?
okay, 7 months ago before I knew
When
where
John
we were
Moxley
going.
was worse than before?
Well, there was still hope then. No, there's still hope then.
Sure.
I don't have hope anymore.
Uh-huh.
That being said, this should have been the match where did Cope challenge for the belt?
Where?
Which show was that? Revolution?
I think it was Revolution. Because Dynasty was Swerve, and it was the right after the Cope.
That should have been Mark Briscoe, baby.
If
anyone's going to get a great match out of John Moxley in the year 2025, it's going to be Hangman Page. But if anyone else is going to get a great match out of John Moxley in the year 2025, it's going to be Mark Briscoe.
Other tag team match I already mentioned.
I'm half excited.
I already mentioned this. Tony Storm and Mina Shirakawa versus Sky Blue and Julia Hart in a special tag team match. We also have FTR taking on Templario and Atlantis Jr. in a tag team match.
So that's just fun.
That's just fun. That's just pure fun, baby.
That's the type of shit I want you to be putting on. Isn't it the week after this, the Arena Mexico show?
Not the week after this. The week after this is some other special name. It's like the AEW
Blockbuster.
The Blockbuster. And then the week after that is the Mexico show.
Well, I wanted it to be the week after this because I was
so
excited. So now I'm sad.
And then, of course, the four-way main event, presumably the whole show. I have no idea. The AEW International Championship four-way match. Kenny Omega defends his title against Brody King, Claudio Castagnoli, and Mascara Dorada.
You're damn right he does. They should definitely not put this match in the main event. That's so late.
I know. It'll probably be the main event of the Dynamite portion.
Yeah, the first 2 hours.
Yeah.
Then you can put like something else on at the very, 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 very end. Yeah, I mean this match is awesome. Why? Even though I haven't loved Claudio's work the past couple months, I know he could fit just perfectly into a match like this. The funny thing about him is like he's not hurt by the gimmick. He's just not been exciting.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
So, and Dorada's in this, and that's my guy.
Yeah, and the whole reason Claudio was in here is to be a base for Dorada. So he's the Ethan Page of the four-way. Okay, hold on. So he's the Ethan Page. Okay, who is Javon Evans? Dorada? Probably Brody King and Kenny Omega. Okay, who is Ray Phoenix and who is Laredo Kid? Laredo Kid's Brody King because he's never on pay-per-view. And then Kenny Omega is Ray Phoenix, a great wrestler.
Dorada's my favorite luchador, so that name Mystico. Obviously. He's the guy that I said 2 years ago was better than Vikingo, and boy oh boy, have I won. Every week is like a new thing of praise for Dorada, and meanwhile Vikingo awaits Chad Gable.
Yeah. I mean, in Vikingo's defense, he did break his knee. So.
Yeah, but I said it before that happened. So because I was ahead of the game, and I feel great about it. So I'm very excited for Dorada to showcase it. Listen, if we worked in like an old fashioned way, right? You'd have Dorada win the belt and then lose it back to Kenny in the main event of Arena Mexico, because that'd be real.
I fully agree with you, by the way.
Wouldn't that be awesome? That'd be so cool. That's why you do a four-way. have him pin Claudio or Brody. Well, have him pin Brody. What am I kidding?
Have him pin Claudio.
That would be sick. And then you have an incredible main event for Arena Mexico.
Yeah. That would rule.
Yeah.
That would rule.
Talked myself into it when I saw that he made it into the match.
Yeah.
I was like, hold on. Let's do some old-fashioned booking here. Because Dorada's going to be over no matter what. Like him losing to Kenny Omega in Arena Mexico isn't going to be bad for anyone.
That being said, though, Scotty, Kenny Omega versus obviously Mascara Dorada would be great. But
yeah.
But what about Kenny Omega for the international title against Mystico?
Don't say Mystico.
Why not? Why not?
He can't lose.
Good point. Good point. In Arena Mexico, especially.
Come on, man.
Great point. Great point.
Mystico doesn't lose, and I don't know. To me, hear me out here. Wouldn't be going into Arena Mexico pitching, hey, what if we beat the ace?
Fair point. Fair point.
You can beat Dorada because he loses.
Yeah.
Like Dorada's still at a point where
he can lose.
They build him up, and he can lose the big match. They're not going to do this, so it doesn't matter. But my God, what other match do you need to sell for that show than that one? I mean, they already sold out, so it doesn't matter. But
I was thinking for whatever reason of like, I would love to see Zandokan Jr. in this show in some regard. And I was like, who would he wrestle? And I thought of him versus Brody King. I was like, oh boy.
I thought you were going to say Mascar or Dorado. I was like, they just did that.
I know. Apparently it was great.
They should do a like all CML match, in my opinion. You should have an all AEW match too, and all these things. But like, I feel like in Arena Mexico, that would be cool. Or just do like all luchador match, so you can do Hologram and Commander versus Neon and Dorado.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on.
Hold
on. I've sold myself again.
I think an all lucha opener tag, like all-star 8-man tag sort of thing would
give me all of that.
Would work really well.
Give me Ultimo Guerrero. Give me Gran Guerrero. Get the world champion on here.
I would love, however, if we saw God, I always forget their names. The little CMLL mascot, the Camelito. Yes.
Camelito?
Yes. Can we get the two of them somehow in a match?
Definitely going to be there. Okay, so here's my I think I've settled on Dorada definitely getting a big match. I think it's gonna be either against Kenny or Ospreay.
Fine. Oh, okay. What about that? What about Ospreay and Mystico with Mystico winning, and then Omega versus Dorada with Omega winning?
Don't get me wrong, I'm in. I just think it's funny we're pitching Ospreay losing.
He loses all the time, Scotty. What do you mean?
I think it would just be awesome, like to see in real time people watch La Mystica get set up.
Well, yeah. They're obviously setting up Mystico for a big match because on Dynamite they did a video package for Mystico. So they're like,
he's Mystico.
And he's Mystico. So they're setting up that. So it's just a matter of who he faces.
Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. I just realized I pitched a match that's literally happening in the main event of Fantastica Mania Mexico.
Which is what?
It's Dorada, Mystico, and Neon versus Hologram Commander and Bandito.
I can't wait. It's going to be a great week for us, Scotty.
Volador Jr. versus Ricochet hurts me in so many ways.
But also, there's something about that's fun. You know what I mean?
For sure. No, don't get me wrong. Ricochet in Arena Mexico is very cool. Volador Jr. is just broken. Like, every part of his body is injured. Mm-hmm. So, like, that's going to be tough. Ultimo Guerrero versus Yoda Tsuji is happening on that show for, like, the 95th time, by the way.
I can't wait.
The Crew... If Zandokan Jr. loses to Robbie X, I'm going to have a problem.
That should not.
Holy shit, am I going to have a problem. Hiromu Takahashi, Shingo Takagi, and Teton versus Akira, Templario, and TJP. Whew, that's a spicy meatball. That's Italian too, but that's a saying that I say. Leave me alone. On the Tuesday, Hologram versus Neon.
Did you see in what was it, the last day of the Best of Super Junior finals, they had Teton beat Nick Wayne?
Oh, so maybe they'll give Teton the Ring of Honor title.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know if they'll do it, but I was like, I wonder if they do that for one of the Dynamite or something.
Or you could do it on that Ring of Honor show that's happening at a time I don't remember.
On the Tuesday?
The pay-per-view.
Oh, yeah, Death Before Dishonor, I think is what it's called.
This Tuesday show is set.
Yes, Tuesday and Friday are set.
Petito versus Massacre Dorada. You silly gooses. Oh, God. Yeah, you got to give Dorada a big match on the Dynamite so he has 3 big matches in 1 week, not just 1.
I love it. I guess if we look, Scotty, if we're going to have any concern about showcasing Dorada this much,
I'm not worried.
My only concern, Scotty, is that we know for a fact WWE will be watching these shows.
I will kill them
to steal talent, and
you can't have him.
I fear that like Zandokin's gonna get looked at. I fear Dorada's gonna get looked at. They're gonna look at a couple of guys.
Say no. Listen to Mystico.
I
I feel
agree.
like if you're connected to Mystico,
Well,
you're
Mystico
safe.
technically said yes first, but
Well, that's why I'm saying listen to him now.
yes,
He knows. He knows better than anyone.
yeah. Remember when Arn Anderson was like, "We're gonna unmask Mystico"?
Yes. Yes.
The alternate reality where
Oh.
Mystico doesn't have a mask anymore.
Oh, baby, that would suck. That would suck ass.
Last little bits, sort of already mentioned it in passing, but Mariah May had a big news as well this week because her name got removed from the AEW roster page, which means something nowadays. It kind of sucks that it means something. I kind of wish it didn't exist, but alas, it does exist. Alas, they
Can't
do
wait till the day
exist.
Chris Jericho's off of it.
Mariah May, obviously, last match here with Tony Storm in AEW has been off TV very much since. She it only has a 2-year contract that comes up very soon. I want to say extremely soon. I want to say June is when it comes up. In fact, so the expectation with her now coming off the roster page is that she will be heading straight to WWE very shortly. Scotty, how do you feel about Mariah May leaving AEW, heading to WWE, and where do you think she's going to land?
Well, I think she's going to land in WWE. You said where?
I meant that or NXT, I guess. To be
NXT. She's winning the NXT Women's title. My girl JCJ won the title this week, but that's not going to last long. Good for her. I'm not kidding about that. JCJ is good. I didn't like this other ridiculous nonsense of she's not good.
She's really good. Now it is weird that she beat Stephanie Valkyrie on TV out of nowhere, but whatever, that's fine.
We were calling up Stephanie Valkyrie and we need someone to beat her, and why don't we give it to the person that's been here a long time and deserves it?
Yeah,
which is fine because they had a call up. They're calling up everyone else. Jordan Grace is going up too.
Yeah.
Everyone else. Julia and Roxanne also just went up, so that's everyone else. Anyways, what was I saying? Core J got fired. What was I saying?
Mariah May.
Right, Mariah May. Mariah May has done wrestling in a way I wish more people would.
Agreed.
I wish more people would do the territory system of have a great run, move on, have a great run, move on. It's not her fault AEW gave her everything the moment she walked in the company. There was no reason to give her everything.
Yeah, Tony Khan signed her to a contract. It was 2 years. He
gave her the biggest story.
He knew that they only had her for 2 years. He could have easily decided not to do anything with her and just have her be on the roster.
Right. He could have just signed her to a deal, but they gave her the biggest story the company's had in the women's division.
Yes.
Like that is
at the very least the longest.
The longest, and in the end the most successful, because what matters most is the end, and the end was the highest point, right?
Easy.
And
highest point.
Yeah. Yeah, she is a fascinating wrestler in that I do think she's going to be very successful in WWE. And I can't fault any of this decision making, because there's the other part of this of like, okay, say she re-signs with AEW, what is she going to do?
Yeah.
She's already had the highest point in her AEW run. There's not a higher point. Because it's calling it the highest point in her AEW runs, also the highest point in the women's division to this point in terms of storytelling. And ultimately, I'd argue that match was probably, like top of the line. If it's not the best women's match in company history, it's top 3.
Yeah.
So I couldn't have less of a problem. I think it's good for her. I think it's what more wrestlers should do, not just from AEW. Both sides, I think, should do something like this. I think 2-year contracts are a good thing. Obviously, wrestlers sign contracts longer because, longevity and, having that safety net is a good thing, and I'll never fault anyone for not doing that, but it's fun this way. It's a lot of fun this way. Literally, her last match in AEW was that match with Tony Storm, and that's it. See you later. Goodbye. Now she's gonna walk into NXT, which is not what I would do, but you want to establish her, which you did with Stephanie, Julia, Jordan. So I get that, right? You want the crowds to care first. You don't want them to. You don't want her to walk out there on like Raw and they'll be like, okay, you know. So I understand why they do the NXT thing with certain people, because I do think Mariah May, despite being in AEW, isn't a big name to a WWE audience yet,
No.
despite the work she did. So I think that's the right play, and you'll probably make her champion, so that gives her more prestige. If she's in there beforehand, you can make her champion at Evolution.
Yeah. Yes. I suspect Evolution would be her debut, if not that title match that you're talking about. That's
Lacey Jane versus Mariah May.
yeah, as we all suspected.
That's the one, baby.
Yeah, you talk about like WWE fans knowing Mariah May. I think they know Mariah May based off of that last Tony Storm match, and then her not being on TV and the social media tribalism, doing like the whole Ricky Starks, what that whole kit and caboodle of bullshit, of why they're not using her. She'd be way better in WWE, that sort of thing. That's extremely stupid. Yeah, I think she's gonna work way better in the WWE system. I totally agree. Obviously, context wise, Mariah May did 1 year in Stardom. It was just 1 year, right? Scotty, just 1 year in Stardom.
Yeah, she did 9 months specifically.
I'll round it up.
But over like 99 matches, so
yeah, I'll round it up to 1 year of Stardom, then 2 years of AEW. And I fully agree. I like that style, like people getting hot and bouncing to the next thing and bouncing to the next thing. I think she's done a really good job of doing that. I would love for her to continue doing that and to really prove that. We all know that WWE for her is her ending spot. I fully suspect that we will hear the news that she has signed like a 5-year contract because she wants to stay there. I would love and much more prefer for her to continue what she's doing and sign a 2-year contract for WWE and continue getting hot, going there short time, getting hot, just become the Sid Vicious of like Sid was never like necessarily a great wrestler. I think it's very fair to say. But by constantly popping over and over again, he was able to sustain that momentum, sustain being at the top of the card. Obviously, after several years, that starts diminishing a little bit. But there's an ability to do that. And it's something that I think for her to prove it as a provable thing that wrestlers can do, even more so, she needs to do it again in WWE and then bounce back to AEW and then bounce back to WWE. But I fully don't expect that to be the case. I fully expect her to be signing a 5-year contract and staying in NXT for a year. And
this is where she wanted to go. Like, this was her dream.
This is her dream, like a decade ago or whatever.
Yeah.
I fully understand. How she will do, I don't know. I mentioned you in Slack the other day about how I think we have to remember that like fully her best match in her time in AEW, and I would say at large her best match of her career, is that Tony Storm match at whatever that pay-per-view's name was. I forget off the top of my head. Revolution, Dynasty, one of those two. That was the best match of her career. The reality is she will never be able to do a match like that ever in the WWE system.
That is correct.
She would obviously mostly do match, and she's not going to be able to do the high work rate stuff that she was able to do in Stardom as well. We want to go back that far. The stuff that she'll most likely do in WWE will be what her title reign, I think, ended up being. And maybe like the very beginning of her time in AEW before like becoming the Tony Storm secondary sort of character. So to that end, I'm not that excited to see Mariah May because I thought her time in AEW for title reign was really bad, and really boring. Granted, a good cloud over that was we all knew that this is not the end of it, and we're just waiting for Tony Storm to return and waiting for that Australia
That
show.
was a massive cloud over it.
Massive.
That entire reign was, is Tony coming back yet?
We know we're just waiting for Tony Storm. So if she goes over to NXT, it's different booking, different wrestlers, and we know that Storm is not going to cloud over her. So that's going to be a big improvement, ideally for her. I can't say I'm going to be that excited to see her. I'm hopeful that she's
Okay.
going to do a great job. I'm
I-
hopeful that she will kill it in NXT. Currently, I'm not excited for her, but I'm happy for her because this is obviously what she wants to do.
I feel the need to just point out, because we always talk about the title reign, like, oh, this isn't that good. This was her title reign. Nyla Rose, Yuka Sakazaki, Willow Nightingale on a week's notice in a 10-minute match. Anna Jay, Mina Shirakawa, Thunder Rosa, Tony Storm.
Yeah.
Everyone worked against each other in this. Mariah May didn't live up to the point I think you would have hoped at the time, but also, holy shit, what a reign.
Yeah.
What was that? 1, 2, 3. 3 of those people aren't on AEW TV regularly. In that title reign. So there's that. But at the same time, I think there's also the other part of like her best match can't be replicated. But at the same time, I don't think that match at all can be replicated, whether she stayed in AEW or not. So there's ways to look at it that way as well. For her, I mean, I think she's going to be very successful. I hope she's very successful. I think she's going to fit the WWE style better. And honestly, will actually work better for her in terms of maybe the consistency you're looking for rather than the peak you're looking for, which I think is a good thing in many ways.
I fully agree.
It really depends on how you look at it and how you look at your wrestling overall, I think, honestly. Like I think that's part of it. If you're looking for the super top-notch bloody match, yeah, that's not happening ever again. But if you're looking for consistency, which is what WWE will look for,
we're very much so character as well.
Right. I think that's going to benefit her massively. So I think it's a win for them. I do think it's a loss for AEW. I know I've seen some people say it's not. I don't think that is a fair take whatsoever.
I mean, you could be like, hey, look, they traded blonde-haired woman and say, hey, they lost Mariah May and Kane Tekla. Is that a fair trade?
I think Mariah May is a better wrestler, but the way I look at it is you're still losing someone that you committed 2 years to, right? You're losing someone that ultimately never had matches with your other top women. Like you never did Mariah and Chris. You never did Mariah and Mercedes. You never did, I can't say Athena because they don't see her as a top woman as far as I'm concerned. I'm sorry. You did Willow and Mariah, I guess, but I think that could have been much more. But yeah, it's a loss, but it's not a loss that's going to bury them, and it's not a loss that's going to crush them. Like you said, they've added Tekla, they've added Megan Bain this year. I guess last year, I don't know when they fucking added Megan Bain. We'll just act like it was this year though, because this is when she popped up. So yeah, it is what it is. Mercedes Martinez is still on this roster.
Yeah, she is.
Okay,
that's a contract that's waiting to be run out. I think.
I would
sad
think
reality.
So. You add Tekla now, right?
Yep.
So you are refilling anything that's lost, but I still think it's a loss because you're missing someone you've established within your roster.
I think that's the bigger thing. It's the we talk about this every once in a while. I talked about this last week or 2 weeks ago. Is that AEW doesn't really do like those not cups of coffee title reigns per se, but those elevation title reigns when it comes to the world title. They do that with like the TNT. I think it's fair to say that they did that with the women's world title with Mariah May, right? Yeah. I think to a certain degree she earned it at that point, but it was ultimately we need to elevate her and establish her knowing that she's going to lose it down the line.
Right.
She became established. It would have been interesting to see her do some other feud after the fact, maybe a feud with the incoming Mina Shirakawa, continuation of that feud.
Yeah.
Maybe then
was
go
rushed.
maybe then go for the TBS title afterwards or something. Doing something else. But obviously, that's not necessarily the case anymore.
I'll also say this. I think this is an important part of her AEW Women's World Title reign. She wasn't the world champion at the time.
Yes. All right.
At all. So that's always true.
I don't know how true and factual all this is, but Scotty, breaking news.
That's the way to put it.
Breaking news. As of 11 minutes ago, his handle I might have changed at Ron Killings, R-Truth. Quote, I'm sorry to inform you all, I just got released from WWE. I want to thank WWE for the ride, but mostly I want to thank each and every one of you who was along for the ride. Thank you for all the love, support, and appreciation you have given me over the years. Thank you. Scotty, again, don't know how accurate this is.
Sean just said it's true.
Sean
Rossap just said it's accurate. Yeah.
All right. Ron Killings, R-Truth.
He will be leaving when it expires.
Which does Sean say what the timeline of that is?
No.
All right. Well, R-Truth, Sean Rossap, the R-Truth tweet is accurate, not a hack or accident. He will be leaving WWE when his deal expires. All right. Thoughts on R-Truth no longer being a part of WWE? This also the first person. It could be more. We know how WWE operates in these situations. It could be more. Thoughts on R-Truth no longer being a part of WWE?
WWE sucks. I like R-Truth. I always have liked R-Truth.
Last match of the company, was that the John Cena one?
It was.
Look at that.
A fitting end, truthfully, to what his past decade gimmick has been.
Mm-hmm.
He's 53 years old.
Sorry. He did have a match on,
on
Friday Night SmackDown where he lost to Jeff Cobb.
Oh, sorry. So he's 53 years old.
Yes.
It's more of this just sucks because you don't like seeing anyone lose their job. And I do think he offered something in terms of your little comedic spots and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not like it's a big thing in that he's been with the company since 2008.
Yeah. And
that's the big thing.
But also was in the company, I think, before that at some point.
Yeah. He was in the company from 2000 to 2001. Then he went to TNA and stuff.
It became NWA World Heavyweight Champion.
He damn right he did. And then then he went back to WWE and has been so he has managed to keep himself on TV for the majority of that one way or the other.
Agreed.
I think a wrestler who will be underappreciated in terms of there's wrestlers, that they say like not everyone's made to be world champion. Funny enough, he was in a different company. But there's wrestlers that add a lot by being useful in any way, shape, or form. And I think that's what R-Truth was. So him and his 53-time 24/7 championship reigns. 53. And the best part is Cage Match has them all.
So I think the fair question here, 53-year-old Ron Killings, I think he is obviously in some level of decent shape to have
very much
continued
so,
to wrestle for all these years. I think the big question would be, is this the full end? Is this retirement? Is he going to pop up and go back to TNA or is he going to pop up in AEW or Ring of Honor or something like that? Or is this just like, oh, he's going to retire. He's 53 years old. Probably has ideally good amount of savings.
Yeah.
Is that the idea?
He feels like the type of wrestler that does an appearance here or there. Like TNA will pop him up in like a random show and they'll be like, oh, it's Ron Killings, former champion.
Ron the Truth Killings is back.
Yeah, like that's the type of thing he'll probably do. I don't think he's going to sign if someone gives him money, why not? But yeah, I'm sure he's not going to have like a full on continued. He hasn't wrestled super seriously in a long time.
Yeah.
So like he's
I
been a
mean,
comedic character for a decade.
yeah. I don't suspect that we'll see Ron the Truth Killings, the heel in TNA.
No,
That
be
being
kind of
said,
crazy if they
that
did.
would fucking rule.
Oh, I mean, if our Truth wants to like go out on his own, right, and with like a real final thing, that'd be awesome. Like I want to say that'd be very cool because he can still go. He was the best part of the John Cena match.
That sucks. By the way, that sucks to say.
I know. John Cena is broken down. Like
Yeah.
I listened to his interview the other day that he had with Stephanie, and I was like, it made me really sad because it's like, man, he can't like do the lifts anymore. That's when you know, that's when you know Cena's officially old. But yeah, like if Truth like going to like TNA or something, one would
Which
be funny because then he'd be Ron Killings on NXT like in 5 months. But like that would be cool. I'm not against it. I've always liked him, so I root for him. And if he wants to do one last run to like wrap his career up the right way, good for him.
I remember I saw it on Reddit, and now I have to go to their nasty website. PW Insider said 2 days ago that they don't know who they are or anything, but there are TNA plans for at least 2 stars to return at next week Against All Odds pay-per-view, which is obviously this upcoming week.
I would assume it's not him.
I would also assume it's not him, but I don't think we can count him out. They're saying that PW Insider is working to confirm the talents, but are told both are former multi-time champions. I don't think we could say it's
He is a
him.
multi-time champion.
Yeah, I don't necessarily say we could say it is him, but I don't think at this point we can say it's not him. It's certainly a possibility. And I think I bring up the retirement just because of the age, but if he wants to continue, TNA is the obvious spot for him to continue.
For sure.
The WWE connection, he still can have that connection, can still do his comedy character. The promotion would work with what with what he does. He would be a fairly big star to a certain degree for TNA. It's not a bad spot. It wouldn't be bad at all. I could totally see it. I mean, not only that, Scotty, but look, I guess we are doing it. I will pull up the Against All Odds pay-per-view card here and say that look, it's not good, but look, they are doing a Santino Marella match versus Robert Stone, which screams comedy. Does R-Truth appear during that thing and becomes the new director of authority or something like that? Like these sort of things. It's like, he would fit in the TNA world very well. So I don't think you can count it out that he may just show up at TNA this Friday. I don't think you can count it out. I think that's the reality of the situation here.
He should go and win the Triple Crown.
The All Japan Triple Crown?
Yep.
He should go.
So why not?
Hey, it's a big comedy company as well. It could work.
That's true. This is a good point.
I think he should debut against Tekla on Dynamite.
You know what? Why not?
Yeah, well, that I'm not gonna say that stinks because that's kind of like that's how like the wrestling and independent thing world works. It's not great. I don't like it. I would love to see the wrestlers continue working, but he's worked in WWE for decades, so I'm not gonna say that it's necessarily the end of the world for him. But
he'll sign a Legends deal eventually.
I think you're right. I think if it's not
wouldn't
TNA,
even shock me if they got rid of his current deal and then just gave him one of those.
I think you're right. If it's not TNA, then I think it would be a Legends deal. I think those are probably the two outcomes immediately to mind. It does suck to see something like that happen to Ron the Truth Killings, but I think it's also very safe based on what Sean Ross Sapp is reporting, saying that he's basically, it sounds more like instead of being fired,
they're not continuing.
Even though he's saying I'm just got released, it feels more of this like they're letting his contract run out.
Yeah, I'm sure in his heart he did. So
yeah,
like that's something I can respect. Like after all this time, you're not getting renewed. Yeah, you know what? I would feel like I'm getting released. So
Yeah. So I mean, look, it is what it is. He's been up there in age. I don't want to, it's going to happen eventually. It sucks that it's happening now and it's happening in this way, but alas, it's happening. I think TNA is the next spot. If not, a Legends deal makes sense.
it's
Would I want to show him anywhere else? All Japan would be funny. It would be funny. I'm not gonna lie. It would kind of whirl. It would kind of be cool to see.
he beats Jun Saito.
Yeah, I don't know. That would be fun. Him and Ryuki Honda dancing, doing the little dumb dances.
Didn't even know Honda did a dance. So
Oh, he's been doing a dance for a year or two now.
I haven't watched it.
Yeah.
Oof.
Is there any room for him in like AEW at all?
Yeah.
And what capacity? Are you going to be his comedy character? Is he going to be more of a serious guy, or do you
I would not. I think there's room for an R-Truth anywhere.
Okay.
And I think based on his range that he's shown throughout his career, he can do multiple things that work. He could be a heel.
Mhm.
He could be the comedy character. He could just be a lovable babyface. I think like he can do them all. I don't think he's a guy AEW needs to sign though at all.
We keep talking about Ron the Truth Killings in TNA. Lest we forget the heel run where he feuded with John Cena and where all this kind of the relationship between the two started.
Yeah, little Jimmy, baby.
Well, Capital Punishment.
Yeah, that's the one and only main event in that pay-per-view's history. Never forget it.
Mm-hmm. He did it work? To a certain degree.
The gimmick worked.
I think you're right.
The gimmick definitely worked. The little Jimmy thing was super over. That's actually what made him a comedy character, I think, forever after that.
I agree.
But it did work. Like, it was a good character.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It was actually the feud before the Punk one. I like to remind people. Like, that's the one that went into that.
Yeah.
Because that ended... Because R-Truth won a table match against John Cena, and then that's when the pipe bomb got cut.
An insane history book. Insane history book. I think you're right that he could have a space in AEW if they want.
R-Truth as like a mentor manager for someone, for a tag team or something. I don't know.
It would be.
I don't know why a tag team. He's not a big tag wrestler, but
you can do tag team. I think that'll be fine. I don't know who against
him, Big Bill, and Brian Keith.
Now we're talking, baby.
Be better than Jericho.
Davion Washington just saw the Truth news just come out of nowhere in the chat. Love Dog's response as well. So was the Cena match a goodbye for Truth? I mean, I think seems it by his phrasing of "I just got released." It obviously makes it sound like I just got fired. I just got let go out of my contract. But the Cena match really feels like a goodbye for the character.
Hold on.
Obviously, he had a match with Jeff Cobb afterwards on SmackDown, but it kind of feels that way. And,
I don't know
Sean
why.
Ross Sapp saying he's going to run out his deal. All of this feels like a little kayfabe.
I'm in the middle of pitching something. Let me cook.
Sure.
I don't know why I think this works. A heel R-Truth with a Ricochet.
Oh my god. oh my god.
Show some love for Ricochet.
Show some love for Ron the Truth Killings.
You don't hate it.
As like a manager type that like an MVP type.
Yeah. I don't know why, but I remember Ricochet was looking for a crew, and I was like, I just feel like they'd work because like when R-Truth was a great heel, he was delusional.
Yes.
Ricochet's entire thing is he's a delusional dick.
Ricochet, Ron Killings, and I mean by the crew, I'm just gonna put in the actual tag team, the crew.
We'll just assume the crew.
Andretti and Leo Rush.
I think that works.
That's an insane stable that I really enjoy. Holy shit. I want to see that. That's so crazy and so funny.
I do like the idea of just Ricochet and R-Truth, but like Ricochet is obviously moving towards getting a duo or something with him, right?
Yeah.
But like to me, I just like it. I don't know why. I can't give you a good reason why. I just think like they'd work super well together, especially for that Ricochet character.
Yeah.
Like R-Truth just being like kind of insane and be like, everyone should love this man.
Yeah.
Like all these things.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's really good.
And
That's
then
really
and
now,
then Action and Andretti can be little Jimmy. Little Jimmy's all grown up.
The obvious concern if it is like Truth coming in and immediately doing comedy, like doing the comedy things, right? Or not rather um
Well,
him not necessarily doing the comedy thing, but the crowd
hear me
reading
out.
it as comedy, you
Hear me
know?
out here.
Mhm.
The way you debut him, Ricochet's feuding against whoever.
Yeah.
R-Truth is like the run-in help for that guy. Right? And it's like, oh, instantly it's like, oh, and then you have him instantly turn. Instant dickhead turn. I'm with Ricochet. Then you can kind of get rid of the comedy illusion.
I know what it is, Scotty. It's you just do Ricochet versus Mark Briscoe on TV again.
Perfect. I'm in.
And you think Truth is out there with Mark Briscoe because that's also a great duo of people.
That sure
Just
would be.
personalities. But
He could be in the conglomeration. You're right.
our Truth just grabs those scissors, stabs Mark Briscoe again.
And he has that crazy look in his face that he used to have.
He smokes a cigarette, gets fined, and then that's it. and then we're off to the races.
I don't know. R-Truth and Ricochet rules. You can't stop me now.
Yeah.
Show some love for Ron Killings.
God. We show some love for the Truth.
There you go. That's the one.
Yeah.
Show some love for the Truth.
Didn't he have a stinger at the front where it was like the truth shall set you free or something?
Yes.
Yeah.
But he had no music.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like it. I'm in.
I really like that idea.
Him walking up behind Ricochet with the jacket.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just I like it.
I love that idea. I think it's very fun. I guess at the end of the day,
it's not going to happen. But
I think at the end of the day, it comes down to what he wants to do. Does he want to continue doing the comedy character? He certainly can. He's very successful. And if that's the case, I mean, it's TNA. I mean, I don't think that really fits. It can fit in AEW, but like, it won't. It's not going to necessarily work. That feels like TNA for me, or All Japan. That's fun as well. If he wants to do the serious Ron Killings, heel stuff again, I mean, you could do that anywhere. But like, you just laid out a great idea with that Ricochet thing. So I'm fully on board with that. He could ultimately do that anywhere. That opens, I think that honestly, him doing serious stuff, Scotty, opens the doors way more from him if he wants to continue. But at the end of the day, it's how much he wants to continue. He's 53 years old. He doesn't necessarily probably want to do it. He might want to shift to more of a manager role sort of thing anyways. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with R-Truth. It sucks to see that today. I sort of thing based off of what Sean Ross Sapp is saying that there might be a kayfabe sort of thing of I just got released like right now, and with the Cena match in conjunction as well. But that's just me with my tinfoil hat on. Right now, him no longer in WWE is going to be a blow for a lot of people, but I fully suspect that we'll see him again one day down the road, as wrestling always is. That's it for this week's episode of Ring Post Radio. We didn't talk about Best of Super Juniors at all, so I totally forgot about that because we got distracted by R-Truth. Do we want to talk about it? We didn't watch the matches, the finals, because I think I mentioned it at the top of the show that New Japan doesn't upload the full shows anymore for whatever reason, or the live show thing. It's just they upload the individual matches, and I very much tried to watch the individual Best of Super Juniors afterwards, but couldn't watch it. So that's what it is. Should we give any quick sort of general thoughts on Best of Super Juniors before we go, Scotty, or should we just pack it up?
I didn't have fun with the tournament. There you go.
Yeah, down tournament as well. There were so many nights, Scotty, where I don't think I saw a great match. Hold on. Did I see a great match at all?
I saw 17 total. I gave up.
Yeah, I started limiting how many matches I was seeing. But did I give any 4-star matches at all in this entire tournament of what I saw? And I do want to be clear. I would pick like the highly rated matches that Cage Match had, and then also the main events. I made sure to watch all the main events. Okay, I did give a couple great matches. I thought Hiromu versus Francisco Akira night 4 in Cork and Hall. I thought that was great. I thought it was really great. I thought Hiromu versus Fujita was also great. So I did give out a couple 4-star matches, and those were easily, I think, the best of the entire tournament. But outside of that, not really a lot of great stuff. A lot of like sub 3, circling 3 matches of just like, this was good, but not really much there. That really sucks. That really sucks, in my opinion. The finals, of course, were spoilers, Yo versus Fujita. We already knew that. The spoilers here are, in fact, that Kosei Fujita wins, becomes the youngest person to ever win the Best of Super Juniors. So, Scotty, I guess the big thing to react for us is, how do we feel about the choice? I agree it's a great choice.
I pitched. So I'm happy.
This is the big push for Fujita as a single star in New Japan. So how do you feel about Fujita winning?
It's absolutely the right choice. He is the new ace as far as I'm concerned, and he's ready for it. I think that's the most important. He's ready for this spot. It's not like it's too early or anything, and I would have him consider having him beat Desperado. 100%.
I think that's a great idea. I think that's what you should do.
You want to build the future? This guy's your future.
And I think,
Hiromu's moving up.
A big part of the tournament was building that future. I talked about those 2 best matches of the tournament, in my opinion, with Fujita and Akira. I think Akira was a build-up as well a little bit this tournament. Obviously, Fujita, massively more so. I think there's elements of that. They're trying to build up that next generation of guys. I think it's going to be Akira. I think it's going to be Fujita. I just don't know necessarily who else is going to be in that part of that group. But I imagine there are certainly others. I would say, if I want to talk about people that are sort of upset, I guess Yo could be a part of that, but I don't think so.
He's like 36.
I think Yo being in the finals is like his cup of coffee sort of thing. Like, I think that's it for Yo for me.
Crazy choice. I heard good things about his performance, though, after everyone said his performance to get in was not good.
Yeah,
so that's good.
That's nice. I hear he did a bunch of chaos,
which is probably something that I will enjoy, honestly. It's a nice idea.
If I had to give a disappointment sort of thing about, I guess this is kind of it for this guy, Robbie Eagles in this tournament. Just like another like tournament of he's just kind of there as a glue guy, good in a hand. Feels like you could do more with him, but they obviously don't really want to do anything more with him. And the more I think about it, I think more and more, Scotty, lately about people that were given titles during the pandemic, like Drew McIntyre, Shingo, Robbie Eagles, just like all these people that don't like, they give them titles because they like them, but they're not necessarily draws or something, right? Less of Shingo, I guess, but just this thing of, we like this guy, we're gonna give him a thing, evil, at the end of the day, we're just gonna, it's whatever. We're not gonna ever go back to them ever again for any of these titles. So kind of sucks. Okay. Down tournament for sure, disappointing tournament for sure. The continuation of the roller coaster of emotions surrounding New Japan and the roller coaster of their ups and downs continues. Hate to see that, but again, 2 weeks from now will be Dominion. We'll see if they.
It's a great show.
Really looks like a great show. So we'll see if they can turn it around, and we'll get back to the positive route.
If you want my spicy opinion right off the rip, I would not have Gabe Kidd beat Yota Tsuji.
Ooh, why is that?
He read his certificate. No one wants to see that anymore.
He what with what?
He told you he's leaving next year.
Oh, by going with the AEW stuff?
Yep. I don't have him beat. I mean, they're gonna, but
yeah. I mean, there's an argument of like using him when you have him, like the Mariah May thing of using him when you have him, right?
Sure.
But I also understand what you're saying. So yeah, is what it is. We'll find out. I guess.
Unfortunate for New Japan fans.
We'll talk about more Dominion next week on Ring Post Radio. We'll talk about a lot more next week on
Great
Ring
show.
Post Radio.
Great card.
Scotty, let's end the show. Let's wrap it up here. Give us some plugs. Give us your match of the week.
Yeah. Let's do it. I'm trying to find my match of the week. My match of the week is Masquerade Dorada versus Sandokan Jr. from Friday's CMLL show.
I heard great things about that match.
Thought it was terrific. Dorada's fantastic. Sandokan Jr. is fantastic. And they put on a fantastic match with an incredible crowd every step of the way. Plugs, very simple, youtube.com/@ScottEWrestling. As always, that's where my content is, podcasts, videos, everything else. I got a couple interviews in the works as we speak. So once those are out there, you can find them. Probably just follow me at Scott E Wrestling on Twitter. Blue Sky is the best place to find them. But yeah, lots coming up. Lots in the works. Follow the YouTube channel. I will be putting together a Marigold beginner's guide for anyone that's interested in getting into that soon. And then my podcast's on there all the time. So yeah, that's it for plugs. Bye.
My match of the week is going to be the main event of Dynamite. I don't really watch a lot of wrestling.
What was the main event of Dynamite?
It was a lot of catching up on Best of Super Juniors. Main event of Dynamite: Brody King versus Josh Alexander. Really, really fun match. It ended with Josh Alexander bloodied in the ring, so that was fun. Just like bleeding, I think, out of his forehead or nose or something like that. So that was fun. Yeah, Brody King looking really good against Josh. So really, really fun stuff. My plugs: listen to Ring Post Radio, subscribe to Ring Post Radio wherever you get podcasts. Obviously, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're watching this live video version, or listen to the audio version. If you want to see our beautiful faces, then you can obviously listen to just the audio version wherever you get podcasts. Follow us on social media, Count Out Podcasts, or wherever you get social media. I don't have any personal plugs per se. I did record the next episode of The Ballot, which will be coming out on the 11th. I have it already recorded, already ready to go. I'm actually recording another episode of The Ballot today.
You're
later
flying
tonight.
high.
Flying high. I'm hoping, Scotty, I start work next week on the 9th, and I'm hoping I can record this. I'm going to record this one. I have 2 months ready, and I already have a potential guest lined up for another month. So I might be locked and loaded for June, July, and August, Scotty. And I know I already have a guest probably for September. I just have to wait until the end of summer for that guy. So flying high off The Ballot. I guess go listen to The Ballot. It's a great show. We did it. I got a lot of great compliments about the last episode regarding Sabu, which was a nice change of form. We got a nice compliments about the Io Shirai Io Sky match as well, or not match, podcast as well. So check out The Ballot. We talk basically, if you don't necessarily care about Hall of Fame Wrestling Observer newsletter, at the end of the day, we're talking about a wrestler's career and the sort of where they are in terms of the pantheon of wrestlers. So if you always want to go check out or listen, and more importantly, learn a lot about professional wrestling or a lot about a specific wrestler, indeed, check out The Ballot. I think it's a really good source to learn a lot about wrestling. And I say that now, Scotty, knowing what the next episode of The Ballot is going to be, because it's all going to be about French catch wrestling from the 1940s, 50s, and 60s. And trust me, Scotty, you would learn so much about this whole thing.
Well, considering I know zero. Yes.
Yeah, starting from zero, you're going to learn. But I know I did a bunch of research. And even then, I learned a bunch of stuff. And look, I'm not gonna say the guy's name. I'll say it next week as well. But I'm
not gonna say the guy's.
But I'm not saying the guest name. But everything.
Why? You already recorded it.
I guess it's a fair point. I did already record it. Yeah, I'll just say it. So on June 11th, it'll be the next episode of The Ballot. It'll be all about Gilbert Leduc, who's of course the rest of the world region, all about French catch wrestling. It'll be recorded with Phil Lyons, wrestling historian. Worldwide wrestling historian. The reason he is such a big get, Scotty, and why you're definitely going to learn, of all the research that I did for this show, which from him. You know for a fact that I do a bunch of research, the only name that kept popping up of written stuff about French catch wrestling was from Phil Lyons. So everything I know is everything he knows. and he knows way more than me. So I learned a bunch. You're going to learn a bunch. It's a really great episode. And I think people have a lot of fun listening to it. And then, yeah. So fun episode. Always listen to the ballot. That's it for this week's episode of Ring Post Radio. We'll be back next week, of course, previewing Dominion, reviewing Money in the Bank, Worlds Collide, maybe reviewing Fyter Fest. I mean, honestly, Scotty, we might also have to preview Triple Mania as well. I hate to say it. We might have to preview that for the 15th as well, same day as Dominion. So that is the sad reality we're going to live in. But yeah, we'll talk about that, that and much more next time on Ring Post Radio. All right, have a good one, everybody. We'll see you next time, and enjoy your Taco Bell.